Hey, everybody, it's Scott Steen with winnersandwhiners.com. Congratulations, everybody. You have made it to Friday, TGIF, everyone. And we're going to have a little fun. I don't know that we're going to have a fun show today, but we're going to have an informative show. We're going to talk about the status of all the different sports in relationship to the coronavirus. And who better than my partner in crime, my fellow optimist here. He is Scott Reichel. Scott, how are you, bud?
Doing pretty well. I don't know if the optimist term is sarcastic or not, but I guess we're going to find out in a couple of minutes. Overall, doing pretty well. Was looking forward to watching some golf. And then weather got in the way. So there's going to be, I believe the play's been suspended. Potentially can be continued maybe tomorrow. So they might have to play, I don't even know, maybe 20-something holes tomorrow, potentially, if they want to actually finish on time. So that's something to keep in mind moving forward. But other than that, though, I'm looking forward to breaking it down. A lot of news going on, mostly with college football, which is probably where we're going to be starting. But hopefully things become a little bit more clear in the upcoming weeks.
Yeah, this is going to be a big, every time we do one of these update shows, we do one of these shows every 2 or 3 weeks. Every time we do one, we say, well, this time period coming up, that's really going to decide things.
But there's been a lot that's changed over these things. It's not like we're repeating ourselves. That's the interesting part, where you see things continue to develop, but yet there's still so much uncertainty left over that it just carries over no matter how many update videos we do.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it seems like we do one and the next day there's more news. So it's a very fluid situation, as the kids say. So, you know what? Let's talk about the one that we actually don't have much to say about, and that is the NFL. NFL, for the most part, is going forward with their plans. They've scaled back some of their offseason activities a little bit. They've cut the preseason from 4 to 2. Of course, they've canceled the Hall of Fame game. Players have asked that they actually cut the preseason out from 2 to 0. We'll see how that goes. I know teams are making arrangements with season ticket holders here in Kansas City. They sent out a letter most people received yesterday that said all people that have paid for season tickets for 2020 are going to have their payments rolled into 2021. There will be no season tickets for 2020. Everybody will be doing a single game situation where the season ticket holders will have first priority if they want to buy tickets for the season, for the single games. They don't have the cap on attendance announced yet. I think most people that I see are talking somewhere in the 17 to 20,000 range. Scott, is that what you're seeing for NFL crowds?
Give or take. Truth is that whatever numbers that they choose to throw out now, it doesn't really matter. It really just depends on how everything progresses in the future. Of course, that's the number that they're going for. The same thing that I believe it was the White Sox who came out in baseball and said they want to get 20 to 30% of fans. Doesn't mean anything. If you have an outbreak in the area, nobody's going to go. So a lot of it's subject to change over the next couple of weeks or months, depending on how much this continues to spread.
Do you really believe, Scott, that people won't go?
The truth is, I think it depends on the area. And when I say that they won't go, I feel like a lot of players might be a little bit uneasy with a lot of just, I'd say, wild cards in there. I don't want to refer to fans as wild cards, but that's basically what they are, because you have players who are being tested every single day, potentially multiple times a day, and they have to live kind of in a personal bubble, regardless of what sport you're in. And then you have a bunch of random fans who might not be wearing masks, chugging about 4 beers by the third inning. That's not exactly it's a little bit of hypocrisy there, if you know what I mean.
I think there is a certain percentage of the people that just don't buy it, Scott. They don't.
I agree. I think that those people aren't exactly the most educated people in the world, but I think those people exist. There's no way that you can't disagree with that. There's no way that you really can, disagree with that. I just think that based on how America itself has handled the virus, I think it's proven the fact that a lot of people haven't taken this seriously as they should have, and that's caused sports to kind of sputter in circles for I don't even know how long, since
March 12th, when they shut the NBA down.
Yeah, March 12th. Yeah, I was going to say around there. You can make the argument that things were going to either get progressively worse or progressively better, and I feel like this is kind of the worst case scenario, where pretty much every American sport is stuck in limbo, and every other international sport seems to be already righting the ship and getting back to normal.
It's not our one shining moment as a country.
Well, there was no one shining moment because March Madness got canceled. So
yeah, I know. Oh, okay, bud. So let's take a look at the sport where they really had the most news this past week or so, and that is college football. Wednesday, the Ivy League came out and said that they're going to cancel they're actually going to postpone all fall sports at least till after the beginning of the year. That would be best case scenario. Of course, that does include football. Ohio State, they have eliminated a bunch of fall sports as well. Stanford has eliminated 11 sports. I don't know. I think Paul Feinbaum probably has the best quote on this. He said, "This is the Ivy League canceling their tournament or their season is like a tsunami across the country from a college football standpoint." I tend to agree, Scott. North Carolina and Ohio State shut down voluntary football workouts. Schools are canceling sports right and left, eliminating entire programs based on the fact that the college football, which of course pays the freight, as we talked about many times, that pays the bills for all the other sports. It's not looking great for college football. Scott, do you have any words of encouragement for college football fans?
I think that it really depends on location. I think that the Pac-12, a lot of these conferences have already announced that they're only going to be playing conference games. At least that's the tentative plan. And the logic there is simply based on A, travel, and B, the fact that you have the non-conference games first usually. So you can potentially create an extra couple weeks for things to potentially right the ship, which of course won't happen until there's a vaccine, but you can potentially reduce the amount of people at risk perhaps if you delay the start by a couple weeks. In reality, I think it depends on the conference. In reality, I keep saying that term, I think that I'd say the conference that's most likely to play college football is the SEC.
Yeah.
And simply put, that's just because college football is so important in that area. And you also have a decent amount of, I don't want to say deniers of COVID, but a lot of people who I'd say aren't exactly interested in following the correct safety protocols in public down there.
I
don't think that matters. I know Ole Miss announced a couple of weeks ago, oh no, we're just going to have fans. And I'm thinking to myself, are you aware of what's going on right now? And all right, I guess. So in reality, I think we're going to have college football to some capacity. I think even if every other conference shuts down to worst case scenario, I actually think the SEC is going to play anyway, just because there's so much money at stake and because of the fact that most people in the South genuinely don't care. So I think that the SEC will be playing football anyway.
You know, and we didn't discuss the one big development there in the Big Ten, where they have decided to play no non-conference football games against.
Well, I'm saying a lot of conferences did that. I said the Pac-12 mentioned that. I believe the ACC mentioned. A lot of conferences pretty much all came out and said the same thing. But I'm assuming you agree with me. I feel like even if everything gets cut down, the SEC will just secede and just play a bunch of games anyway because they're just going to make so much money and nobody down there actually cares.
I don't know that I quite share your optimism for an SEC season. I will say that they will be the last ones to cancel. Yeah. You know, and Scott, speaking of that, there's odds on the coronavirus in college football. We don't have a verifiable website. My son sent me this via that he pulled off of Twitter. I assume he pulled it off an offshore site. But they had the odds on first FBS conference to postpone fall football. Who's the favorite, Scott?
That's the Pac-12.
Pac-12 plus 150.
This was before the announcements today, though, with regard to the conference games only. So
yes,
these lines change.
It goes Pac-12, Big 12, ACC, Big 10, and SEC plus 500. A lot like you might expect, almost in the exact order. You could argue whether ACC or Big 12 would be more likely. There was any FBS scheduled for 8/29, which is opening weekend, be canceled or postponed. Yes was a prohibitive favorite again before the announcement at minus 500. And will the FBS season, this is the most interesting one to me, Scott, will the FBS season be postponed until 2021 spring semester? Even money on each side, brother.
Well, for me, I wouldn't bet that last prop just because I think the wording is extremely terrible. I don't know what that even means. Does that mean if one conference plays and no other conferences do, then you win or lose? It doesn't say. It just says FBS postpone the season. So I guess if
FBS season, yes.
Yeah, so that doesn't explain on if one conference decides to play anyway. So the wording's a little bit questionable there. So I would personally pass on that one. unless they just mean in general that there's no championship or no bowl games. Does that count?
No, I
Because
think they mean no FBS games played.
that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
I think you will be getting a handful. I don't think you're going to get many, but I wouldn't bet that. If I had to pick one conference, we talked about this off air yesterday, I would take the Pac-12. Just simply put,
Yeah.
I think the West Coast is a disaster zone. You have
Yeah.
a lot of schools in California, even in Utah, et cetera, Arizona.
Arizona is a big one also right now.
Not good over there. Not doing too well. If you want to talk about the Big Ten, toss that in the garbage. The Midwest doesn't care. They're going to play anyway, in my opinion. They're going to do whatever they can to play sports. For somebody who lived in the Big 12, Big 10, I mean, for 4 years, I know all about the culture down there. People in Wisconsin, the Midwest, don't care about pandemics. They care about going to bars, going to tailgates, watching football.
Cheese curds.
That's how it works. I
Cheese
think you
curds.
agree with me. It might sound a little bit stubborn. I don't want to do any hasty generalizations, but I lived there for 4 years. I know for a fact this is what the culture is. And if you want to talk about when restaurants first started opening back up all across the country prematurely, Wisconsin originally opened up some bars and some restaurants, I'd say right on the time Florida did, and they had lines around the block for about an hour and a half in every single restaurant. Nobody cares in the Midwest. So I would not pick the Big 10. Big 12, I don't really think people in Texas or Oklahoma care too much, if I'm being honest with you. You think Texas is going to quit their high school football games on Friday night? I doubt it. They're going to quit their Longhorn games on Saturdays. A little bit more skeptical on that one. For me, I think the Pac-12 is the best chance because California prematurely shut down their fall whatever in the court of public opinion 3 months ago?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago? So I'd have Pac-12.
Yeah, I think that's the smart play. We were talking yesterday.
You agree with me about my opinion about the Big 12 and the Big 10?
I don't think
I'm extremely stubborn about it.
none of them are going to play, Scott.
I don't think they're going to play. I agree, but I'm saying I think that they would be more likely to hold out longer than the Pac-12.
Yeah, I mean the senator.
I'm not saying that Wisconsin and people are going to be playing in the middle of a massive pandemic. What I'm saying is that all of the local people are definitely going to push back, and I think that you could see a delayed announcement for that because of just how passionate I'd say the Big 10 is, and the same thing with the Big 12.
Well, we even saw a little bit of it yesterday as Chuck Grassley, the senator from Iowa, sent out a tweet that said he was very disappointed in the Big 12's plans to not play any non-con games because
Wait, the Big 12 or the Big 10?
The Big 10, rather. Sorry, because he's a graduate of University of Northern Iowa, and they were due to play Iowa this year, and that game's not going to happen. So this is a sitting U.S. senator that's already thrown shade at that decision. So, Lord knows what it's going to be for the rank and file people.
And I think you can agree with the Big 12, even though they might not play either. It wouldn't surprise me if Texas people started rioting if they canceled college football. I think that's an exaggeration a little bit, but I think you can agree that would not go over too gently in that area.
Well, there's really only one team in Texas that has that kind of passion. There's two.
You got the Longhorns,
plays in the SEC.
Decent. Texas Tech has a community as well. Mostly the Longhorns, though, of course.
Yeah, but it's all about the burnt orange and cream right there. Scott.
Correct, but the whole state of Texas is all in on football every year. So you can make the argument that even though one school's opinion matters a little bit more, I think all three of them matter, and I think Oklahoma also would, with Oklahoma State as well. I think that you'd have. Well, we just mentioned 5 teams in the conference where fans could potentially have some serious issues in public. That I expect a delayed interaction between the ADs along with the heads of the actual conferences in the NCAA to actually make an announcement. I think the Pac-12 was more likely to shut down first because people in the West Coast have kind of embraced the fact already that this is a disaster zone.
Yeah. They've had the second surge there in California, and they've had the Arizona is not good right now. And, you kind of brought up a point, and we're not going to belabor this at all, but it is worth mentioning that New Mexico canceled all contact sports for the fall. They're not going to have any football, any basketball as far as at the high school level. So, whether that'll
Are you talking about the entire state, or do you just talk about the Lobos?
We're talking about the entire state. It's high school football, Scott.
Oh, high school. Okay.
Yeah, which could be, you could argue that's the Lobos also, but yeah. It's they've canceled all high school sports for the fall seasons, and taking a look at cross country and volleyball as well. They haven't canceled those yet, but those are next up on the chopping
Well, the one
block.
thing I actually want to touch upon with college football and kind of what Paul Feinbaum said about the Ivy and how they cancel stuff. Some of you might be thinking back at home, well, who cares about Ivy football? Why would that create a massive tsunami? And the thing that people forget about, do you remember the first conference that canceled their college basketball tournament?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of people criticized that decision at the time, and it turns out that shockingly, the Ivy League was smarter than the other conferences.
Yeah, 100% spot on. Yeah, we had the Big 12 tournament here in Kansas City, and they canceled that. They were full steam ahead even after the NBA shut their season down after Rudy Gobert tested positive in Oklahoma City. They were still going to go with limited fans and things like that, and they canceled like hours before the session started there.
The Big
for the
East
Big 12
played a half the day, like 2 days later.
What's that? The Big East played a half. That's right.
Half.
Yeah, that was one of the weirdest things ever.
And Ivy just was immediately going, "Oh no, Yale's the champion." People were going, "What just happened?"
Yeah.
Was the Ivy going nuts? And it turns out, no. Apparently, people in the Ivy actually know what they're doing. Isn't that kind
Let's
of?
face it, Scott. They're smarter than we are.
Yeah, a little bit.
They really are. So you and I with our public college educations can't hold a candle there to the Ivy Leaguers. Okay, so that's college football.
Well, you also have, just to quickly touch upon one other thing, there has been some idea of potentially moving some of the fall sports like football to the spring.
College Football Island.
I mean, I'm not going to say no to that, but
yeah, it is. I agree. Yeah, they're talking about.
Well, as long as the air conditioner works inside of the octagon, right? But in reality, if they would move some stuff to spring, I'm not going to say no. But then again, you have so many schools that don't even have a functional campus. Everything's online in classes now. So I don't know how you're supposed to have people playing football and then not having functional classrooms. And I'm not really sure how that's supposed to work. But luckily it's above my pay grade. I don't have to come up with a decision for that.
From a fan and or a gambler standpoint, how fun would that be though to have college basketball? You have the March Madness going along with the with college football. What a blast that would be.
I'm not gonna. I would have a good time, but
sure, absolutely.
I don't think that's realistic. But I like the idea.
Yeah, agreed. I don't know. We'll see. I have said I said it off air. I don't think I've said this on air yet. My prediction is the next sport that actually has a season and a championship will be Major League Baseball 2021. So, hope I'm wrong. I really do.
I mean, if you want my opinion, I'd go with hockey. But that's just my 2 cents.
Hockey may get it done because they're not in the U.S.
I know it might sound a little bit. I'd say I'm trying to get the right term here. I don't want to sound unpatriotic. I'm thrilled they moved the NHL to Canada.
Other countries have done better, Scott.
I'm thrilled they moved the NHL to Canada here for the hub because they were supposed to do it in Vegas. Now it's a disaster waiting to happen.
Right. Speaking of disasters waiting to happen, Scott, how about a little Major League Baseball? Here's a quick question for you. What do Mike Leake, Ryan Zimmerman, Joe Ross, Wellington Castillo, Nick Markakis, Felix Hernandez, David Price, and Ian Desmond all have in common?
They can all apply for unemployment checks.
They can all apply for unemployment for the 2020 season. They will not be playing the shortened version of Major League Baseball.
I suppose you joined that list today.
I did not see that. I saw that he was on the fence.
Well, he has personal things going on. Apparently, him and his wife adopted 2 children who were born prematurely, and they're on basically life support in the hospital. So they have some family stuff to attend to. But
yeah, and I've seen that with a couple of them. Their wives are pregnant. Some of them are caring for elderly relatives, and some of them are just like, yeah, I'm not doing it. I've got enough money. I don't need to risk it.
I thought the Ian Desmond one was the most fascinating because he decided not to go, and then he trashed all of his teammates for sexist and racist language in the locker room.
Yeah, that was
pretty interesting in terms of timing, but
Yeah, agreed. He'd kind of been he'd been pretty vocal about the Black Lives Matter situation, and
I'm fine with that. It doesn't really have anything to do with what we're talking about. It's just when we're talking about headlines with the people who have already decided not to come. I think the issue is that you just feel like Ian Desmond was quiet in all those locker rooms, and then as soon as he decides to step down, he just decides to throw all his teammates under the bus.
Yeah, weird
There's
deal.
no way he said anything to his teammates in the locker room at the time. Like, there's no way he said anything.
You wouldn't think so. Major League Baseball, Scott, set to go in 2 weeks on the 23rd of July. They're set to go. Good luck. I know that they gave intake tests to everybody associated with the teams. They administered 3,470 tests. 58 players and 8 staff members came back positive. It's about 1.8%. Not too shabby.
I know Joey Gallo tested positive the other day. I know Freddie Freeman tested positive. DJ LeMahieu tested positive.
Right.
Charlie Blackmon tested positive.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of other names on top of my head. I know Luis Cessa did for the Yankees.
And I had the lister. Sal Perez.
That's right.
For the Royals tested positive, as did Brad Keller, and someone else for the Royals.
I think we did a decent job on that in terms of that list.
Yeah, there's they're not gonna they don't have to release the names, so it's going
I think they should.
I kind of agree.
I think it should be the discretion of the player.
Yeah, you run into kind of HIPAA problems there a little bit.
I think if the player wants his name to be disclosed, then they should do it. But they shouldn't automatically just release the medical information.
I agree with that. The problem with baseball right now, and I know that there's starting to be some pushback from the players, even though they're all getting tested, they're still not getting immediate test results. They're getting test results like 48 to 72 hours later. And I know that's very upsetting to the players right now. A lot of them have said that has to be fixed.
Well, it should be, because if one of them has it and the test results don't come back for 3 days and he infected everyone on the team.
That's pretty much their point. Scott, is it worth talking about Joe West for a minute?
Are you worried about him ejecting you from the show?
Well, besides the fact of being a terrible umpire, Joe West came out and said that he has no fear at all about the coronavirus, even though he is definitely shares some comorbidity factors. He's a little bit on the chunky side. He's old. I believe Joe West is, I want to say 68, something like that.
I would have guessed in his low 70s, but ballpark.
Maybe 73. Yeah, maybe 73. One of those two numbers.
I was going to guess like 72, but something along those lines.
He's closing in on Bill Clem's record for most games ever umpired. I think he's 60, 68, 63 games away, something like that. And he's just not afraid at all of the virus. And
is that because he doesn't believe in it, or is that just because of the fact that he thinks he just would rather sit there and and watch baseball?
He doesn't really believe in it. He doesn't.
That's what I'm saying. That's the issue that presents itself, where a lot of these people, if they believe it, they're starting to become extremely careful about it, or at least they should be in terms of the world of sports. Then you have a couple of guys on the side who are just going through without a care in the world. And there seems to be I'd say, similarity between all of them. It's the fact that they think this whole thing is nonsense. And I'm not really sure how you can feel that way at this point in time. But, Joe West has one thing working on his side. If the fact some of these MLB rules, he can't have any manager spit on him for the upcoming season.
Right. Yeah, good point. And in fact, I even saw one of the catchers talk about having the umpires usually that, they lean in, they touch him during the pitches. And they said, that's going to have to stop.
Pretty much.
So, and I think as we've gone on here and learned a little bit more about the virus, it seems like the surface contamination perhaps is not as bad as we suspected. I think it's pretty much all a droplet situation, whether it's, you can certainly parse it out, whether it's airborne or aerosol or, but I think the initial concerns over surface contamination were probably a little bit overblown. So, maybe we won't have to worry about the surfaces as much, people touching one surface or another. I don't.
Yeah, it's better to be more careful than not careful enough. So.
Agreed. But in you talked about no spitting, Scott. There's going to be no spitting in baseball.
I know, it's crazy.
No spitting.
I don't know how the tobacco companies are going to survive.
I don't know, buddy. I don't know. I just I'll be anxious to see, because theoretically we should have baseball to bet on 2 weeks from right now. So
we should. We'll see what happens there, but I'm crossing my fingers and hoping for the best, I guess, at this point.
Yep. I think that's all we're doing. Speaking of getting ready to rock and roll, here is the league that is going to start 1 week later than Major League Baseball, and that is the NBA. They are getting ready to quarantine down there. Well, they are quarantining right now down there in Orlando. And yeah, we talked about the how that's going to work. They're taking all the 22 teams, 13 from the West, 9 from the East are going to be there.
Yeah, I'm sure they are thrilled they decided to bring the Nets and the Wizards along.
Oh yeah, good times. And they're okay so far. You know, they've had some players test positive, and they've quarantined them and whatnot.
Well, the players just seem to be complaining about the meal plan.
Yeah, Adam Silver's come out and said that basically there's going to be no, because, you know, that's what you and I talked about initially is you're going to have a bubble, but you're going to have people that are going to have access in and out of that bubble, and that's Disney employees
of Disney. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Adam Silver has come out and said that there will be no contact between outside Disney employees and the players at all.
Good. He should have said that about 2 months ago. But
yeah.
Better late than never, I guess.
Because I know he did a pretty wide-ranging news conference the other day and talked about, you know, if you have 1 or 2 cases, it's not. He's worried about a cluster.
Yeah, that's what he should be worried about.
Shutting the season down, 1 or 2 cases.
For roster spots on each team anyway, in case there is the occasional situation.
Say that again.
They're adding extra roster spots for teams to deal with the occasional one-off COVID case. But if you have a cluster, kind of like what's going on with the MLS right now, you might have some serious issues.
Right, and you know that's we've kind of given short shrift to the MLS. What do you and it wasn't one of the things I really did a lot of research on when we were working on this show. Did you come across any interesting information, or what's your feelings on the MLS, or do you have any?
The thing they do have to keep in mind is that the MLS tournament that they have is in the same complex as the NBA and what they're going to do. It's also in Orlando, and the MLS has been a disaster so far. They've had a couple of games here and there. 2 teams had to forfeit because the entire team had COVID. You had FC Dallas, who had about, 10 of their 15 players and coaches all test positive for COVID. So they forfeited. They decided we're out. And then I believe yesterday, Nashville also had like 9 cases, and they left. So you had 2 teams that just waved the flag, and that's a little bit concerning because they're playing in very, very close proximity to the NBA. Now, of course, there's going to be no actual contact between the athletes involved, but it shows you how quickly this thing can spread, and you never know.
Hell of a lot more social distancing on a soccer field than there is an NBA court, too.
Definitely true.
Okay, so your feelings, will the NBA be able to execute the rest of their season and crown a champion, Scott? Yes or no?
For me, yes, but I think it's going to be a disaster. I think that they will. I think if the NBA decides to go through this entire hassle to restart the season, I think they're just in full steam ahead at this point. Assuming that LeBron or Anthony Davis or Giannis don't test positive, I really just think they're going to play it anyway and just say, screw it. People are going to watch this no matter what. We're going to make money, and we'll just continue it next year. So for me, even if the NBA has a lot of cases and a lot of situations going on and the players aren't really comfortable, the players sign up for it anyway, and I really just think they're going to go full steam ahead. Whether or not they should, different story. But I'm assuming you might be a little bit more skeptical of that, but I think you can agree that with all these steps already in place and with so much money in store for all these games being televised and everything like that, I feel like you might agree with me that the NBA might be a little more hard-pressed to shut down the season a second time.
I agree, but I still think they're going to do it. I think that there'll be no NBA games after September 1st.
We'll see. I still think the NHL has the better chance of finishing their season in comparison to the NBA. The NBA, I only care about my futures, which is kind of just selfish on my part, but I accept that as a sports bettor. So I hope they continue the games, but in reality, if they don't, I'm not going to be, showing up with pitchforks and torches. It is what it is. You just got to embrace the reality you're in, and the reality is that things kind of suck right now, if I'm being honest.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope my pessimistic view in all this is wrong.
I think the NBA is in too deep. You spend so much money on testing, you bring in so many athletes, you have the rooms and the whatever. I think the NBA at some point just going to say, we're already in too deep. We'll just do this thing.
My concern is if you have some kind of a cluster.
The cluster is a disaster. If the NBA can somehow avoid one cluster and you have the occasional player who tests positive, I think they'll just throw the players aside and continue playing. Agree
with that. I worry about, like you talked about in the MLS, where you get a cluster that comes in and takes out 9 guys on the Lakers squad.
And that's a problem.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that I worry about. So we'll see what happens. NBA is still scheduled to start on the 30th of that's right, on the 30th of July. They're going to do a few little preseason games that are going to start. So we'll
they're going to do. I believe they're doing maybe 1 or 2 exhibitions, and then
they're doing 3 inter-squad scrimmages that are going to run from the 22nd of July to the 28th of July.
And then you have the regular season games on. I still think the regular season games are stupid, but I know you need to get the players back in shape.
Yeah, the eight regular season games, the whole playoff thing, and all that.
Yeah, so. I still don't get the regular season aspect. If you're going to be doing inter-squad things, why can't you just do inter-squad scrimmages for 48 minutes and just get the players back into shape? I don't know why that's not an option, but I don't know.
Right.
Like, do you really need the 8 regular season games? I know some of it has to do with the fact of TV rights.
Right. That's
a little bit excessive to me. You really
it has a lot to do with TV rights.
I know, but in reality, come on. Like, you can't claim you're about player safety, restart a league, and then force 8 more games for television revenue. At least pick a side.
They have to pick the side. They pick the side of the money.
Correct, but then they can't be all over this with players. Like, we get it. You're a business. You want money. That's also why I think they're going to finish the season, because they're so consumed about money.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. I hope you're right. I hope, obviously, I hope no one gets seriously injured by the coronavirus, I guess you would say, as far as long-term effects or, God forbid, a death.
And now we got a more optimistic sport to talk about in the NHL.
Yep, this is the NHL, which they're going to be showing up early next week, Scott. They're going to show up at formal training camp on July 13th. That's when they arrive in the hub cities.
And when is the season projected to start?
The season will begin August 1st with qualifying rounds, and that's with the. Then they're going right to the playoffs, if I remember correctly, right?
Yes. So the way that I interpret it is that you're going to have the preliminary rounds at the same time. The teams that were too good to be in the preliminary stuff are going to be in a round robin thing for seedings in the playoffs.
Right.
No, you're in a neutral site in Canada. I don't know why this even – this is all just about getting reps for practice for the higher seeds. So giving an incentive for seeds doesn't matter, besides the fact that you can reseed. I guess that's the only perk, because there's going to be no fans. It's not like that really matters.
Right.
So it's going to be about reseeding purposes. I don't know how many of the high-profile teams are going to take it seriously. Do I think the Bruins are going to go all in to get the 1 seed when they're not going to have any home games in Boston? No. It's just a matter of they need all the teams to get an equal amount of reps.
Right.
And the round robin's the best case, but that's also going to be happening. But I not take it that seriously.
By the way, the 2 hub cities are Edmonton for the West and Toronto for the East. That is the places they were going to go. Originally, they were taking a look at Vegas and Orlando, right?
Hey, yes. You know how bad that is for me, though? I got the Blackhawks winning the Cup, and they'd play Edmonton in the first round.
Well, that's not good.
Not good for me. I mean, we'll see what happens. I still got them at what did I get them at again? I got them at 125 to 1.
I think that sounds familiar from what you said. I think
125 to 1. I know that the line dropped. I might have got them at 100 to 1, but I don't even remember either or. I don't exactly expect to be cashing that ticket, but I hope to at least have a nice little St. Louis Blues journey coming my way. So we'll see what happens.
Good luck. Good luck with your Blackhawks.
We'll see. But, playing Edmonton in Edmonton, even with no fans, at least you're going to be comfortable with the climate. You're going to be comfortable with the surroundings. So it should help them out. But even though people roast Gary Bettman for being a terrible commissioner, good for him. He got this one right. And I think the NHL did a phenomenal job.
And they got the hell out of Vegas and Orlando.
Yeah, they did what they had to do. They found a substitute in Canada.
Yeah.
And even though a lot of Americans might claim oh, this is terrible. What are we going to do about hockey? You realize hockey is like the 4th-rated sport out of all the major sports in America.
Well, I mean, it's really it's probably 6th if you count NCAA basketball, NBA, college football.
Correct. So
College
I know that
NFL.
Americans might be a little bit outraged. Let's be real. Most people don't really care about hockey. I do. Some people do. They'll watch the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
If there's an NBA game or an NHL game, I'd say 80% of Americans are picking the NBA game, and I don't think it's even close.
No.
So
That might be a little low.
I think it's a little low also. So for me, Canada cares about the sport, and they actually, followed some solid safety precautions. So I'm completely fine with it.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I agree with you. If there isn't a sport that is most likely to complete their season and crown a champion, I think it's going to be the boys up north. I think it's going to be NHL hockey. All right. Well, it wasn't one of our more upbeat shows, Scott.
It is what it is.
Not a lot of laughs, not a lot of fun.
I don't want to fake it in front of other people. You see some stuff with the media now. Of course, most media members are interested in either the fear-mongering aspect or they're just trying to give people something to look forward to. But
Right.
all talk about sports are coming back here. Sports are coming. Like, you got to just embrace the reality that things are most likely going to get worse before they get better. And I feel like that's been the case for the last couple of months. And I feel like people are in denial about it. You might have to start kind of accepting that. And I feel like a decent amount of people have not fully taken those steps.
No.
We have. You have a couple of sports like UFC who, even when in complete isolation and whatever, they still had a ton of COVID cases. They just keep
They still lose about an average of about a fight or a card.
Correct. So they're just accepting the losses, and they bring in another guy who's going to take his place. And I expect the other sports to follow that. If Mike Trout or somebody gets COVID, they're going to bring up a minor leaguer. Is that fun? No, but that's the best you can do.
It is the best you can do. At the end of the day, people want to see sports. They
don't care about the fact that it would probably be better off if, in reality, there wasn't a full rush to get sports back as quickly as possible. But for the entertainment aspect, I'm not complaining. But I think you can agree with me on that. I think there are bigger priorities than sports right now going on in this country.
Agreed. And there's hundreds of millions of dollars involved as far as TV revenue goes. And
correct. And yet sports gambling is not legal in about 80% of the states in the country. So I don't really know what's going on there. But yeah. Isn't that a little bit hypocritical, don't you think?
That we're focused on sports?
That we're focused so much on sports and how all these individual, whether it's colleges or whether it's actual governors or people, are so focused on getting sports back, but yet they don't let the general public gamble on sports on a regular basis.
Oh, yeah, I think that's
extremely hypocritical. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, fair enough. Although, we've certainly shown left to our own devices, we don't necessarily make all the best decisions. So
correct. I'm just throwing that out there. That I feel like
holding a 125-1
people, but it's the move where people were trying to win the court of public opinion. Just say we need sports no matter what. I don't care what's going to happen, just to gain support. But when it comes to actually backing sports when there isn't a massive pandemic, you don't really let the fans do what they want when it comes to actually putting money on it. So, maybe you should be a little more consistent. But, that's my brief political rant.
That's a good take. All right. Well, so ranking these
in terms of confidence or in terms of disaster?
In terms of confidence, NHL first.
I got NHL 1.
NBA.
I got NBA 2.
NFL.
God. I'm assuming we're not including tennis or any of these other sports.
No, we're just talking the big ones right now.
Yeah, because the U.S. Open was supposed to happen. That's why, which I think is just a ridiculous idea. But I'll get to that. It's a tough one, man. I don't know enough about the NFL. I have to put college sports last.
Yes, agreed. I
have to put college sports last, and I don't know enough about the NFL, so I kind of have to plead the fifth on that one. And baseball, I'm not confident about, but once again, they're starting in roughly a week. So I guess I got baseball, then the NFL, then college if I really had to. But in terms of percentage, I think that I'm going to be pretty optimistic for the NHL, though. I think there's actually like a 90% chance they finish the season, which sounds extremely high, but I really think moving to Canada really helps their odds.
Yep.
I think the NBA has, I'd say, 65 to 70. If I really had to piece it, I just think they put so many steps in place. I think they're just going to accept it. Baseball, I'll give for a full season, I'll give 40%. I'm still less than halfway there.
Okay.
NFL's really tough. I got to pass. That's an incomplete for me because I just don't know. And college sports, I'm going 10%.
Yeah, I think I was going to say I think they're about a 7-1 dog. So 10% is right up there.
Do you have any thoughts on football? You're also in the incomplete camp because I really can't make a grade on them.
I think football is going to do everything they can to complete the season.
I agree, but
too much money out there.
I don't know where they stand right now or where it's going to get in terms of the next month or so. So I can't really talk about it.
Yeah, and you don't know what's going to happen once the full contact starts, how that's going to go. Yeah, there's a lot of question marks with football.
Yeah, you've seen all these college teams, Clemson, Ohio State, all these other colleges, North Carolina, you already just have scrimmages and, casually 45 players test positive. I'm thinking to myself, how do you plan on actually playing tackle football if this thing spreads like a wildfire? I don't know how you can.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It seems of all the sports that would seem to lend itself not at all to playing within the parameters of the coronavirus. I think football's certainly the worst one. Certainly the worst one you could draw up.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give football an incomplete. College football, definitely a worse chance in the NFL because these people are also students. So if you can't have people actually on campus and they have to take classes online, then I don't know how you're supposed to have them playing publicly when none of the students can go to classes publicly. Seems to be a bit of a hypocrisy there, potentially rightfully so, because that's where they make most of their revenue with college sports.
Right.
I don't think the actual athletic offices or even the academic offices are going to want to do that. So I am the most skeptical in college sports. Agreed.
All right, buddy. Well,
do we have the same list on that, by the way?
Yeah, I was going to maybe switch NFL and MLB. I think NFL maybe has a little better shot.
I'm only picking MLB because it's starting in roughly a week, so they have some timetable available. The NFL, I have no idea. They've just been pretty much hiding for the last couple of months. I really don't know anything about it.
Been pretty low key, haven't they?
It's intentional because they know that they're going to be starting in roughly a month, or they're going to be starting coverage on it in like a month or two.
Yeah,
they got time. They don't have to spoil. They don't have to reveal any information.
Well, normally the preseason would start around the first week in August.
Yeah, but the public hates preseason anyway, so it's not like that's really. You think the public was going, "Oh, we canceled the Hall of Fame game." Damn it! I was really looking forward to seeing that 9-6 game with the backup quarterback from Bowling Green Tech University.
Right.
Really, nobody cares. I like watching the Hall of Fame because I bet the under every year and you win, but it's not good football.
No, that is a good under trend though on the Hall of Fame game. I totally agree.
It's a huge under trend. Total's 35. Just take the under anyway. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Okay, buddy. Well, let's have some fun tomorrow, shall we? Do a little NASCAR. Yeah, it'll be fun. We'll have Willie in here. We'll talk a little smack. You're making your big run.
I'm still in second though. I didn't get the first yet. I'm working on it.
You are. And
you're still hustling us, even though you told us about your plan about a month ago.
Yeah. I'm still drawing you in until we get that money up there. I'm not turning on the Jets yet, but
I can't wait for you to create a bonus system just to get you back into the race.
Oh man! All right, so sorry to close the week on such a downer, but you know what, guys, we're here to bring you.
We're being honest.
Yeah, we're what's going on today in sports betting. That's what's going on. What's
going on is that you have some sports books that cancel Ukrainian ping pong, and people are outraged. That's what's going on in sports betting.
All right, buddy. Well, thanks for helping us break it down, and hopefully we're not Debbie Downer too much. We're trying to give everybody a realistic shot of what's happening. We have varying degrees of optimism, so maybe Maybe a little surprises here. Maybe this thing will burn itself out. I don't know, Scott. It's just
You know that it's a pretty interesting time in sports when it's breaking news that Michael Beasley and Jamal Crawford signed contracts to join the Nets. That's how you know that sports news is a little bit slow nowadays.
a little wacky right now. A little
I love
wacky.
Jamal Crawford, and I'm a Nets fan, but really, people were talking about it on every news channel, whatever.
Of course, Michael Beasley, K-State guy. So
I know, but he's been out of the league since 2019, and he
I know.
also served a 5-game suspension for drugs because no team hired him this past year.
Yeah, that's what I was like, Michael. And it's one of those things where, because I'm old and every once in a while a player will sneak by like, that guy's still in the league. Like, oh, no, that's his son. So I really had to double check.
So he's going to have to quarantine himself for an extra 5 games because he can't show up to the games?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. That's what I'm saying. It's a breaking news when Michael Beasley gets signed. You know that some stuff is a little bit interesting in the sports world.
Yeah, I didn't know he was still alive, let alone still in the league. So there you go.
Oh, well.
All right, bud. Well, we've certainly I was gonna say we haven't had much fun, but we have hopefully given out some good information. I know it's hard to follow for people all the breaking news, and that's what you and I pretty much do is sit there and look at Twitter all day, read articles, and try to figure out what's going to happen. So hopefully we can bring some of that knowledge that we acquire and that people don't have time to do themselves, and hopefully bring a little update, let you guys know what's going on, and hopefully we'll have sports here within a couple of weeks. We'll see what happens. Whee!
Yeah, well put.
All right, buddy. Well, thanks very much, man. As always, couldn't do it without you. Appreciate you being in the right-hand chair today, as always, running the show. And thanks to Eve for stopping by and clicking on the link, listen to the show, what we had to say, and hopefully we'd like to know what you guys think. Do you share our views, or are you more optimistic? Are you less optimistic? Give us a hint, give us a drop in the comment section. Let us know what you're thinking. I'm really curious to know what the general public feels about this, because we're kind of locked in our own bubble where you and I talk a lot. We talk a lot with people where we work and things like that, but we don't get a lot of exposure to the general public. So I am curious to see what you guys think as far as the rank and file sports bettors and fans think about the season coming back. Do you agree with our list? Do you think they're all going to make it? Whatever it is, drop us a comment, and we'd love to hear from you. All right. So
don't forget, if you want live sports breakdowns, we had the UFC video that we did. So check that one out also.
That's right. We do have the UFC that got up. We had some technical problems. It got up late last night, early this morning, actually. So make sure you check that out as well. We'll be back tomorrow, like we said, talking a little NASCAR with a Winning Willie, and they are at Kentucky this week, running a 1.5-mile tri-oval. So we'll be back talk about that one tomorrow. But until then, I am Scott Steen. He is Scott Reichel. For all of us over here at winnersandwhiners.com, of course, don't forget to stop by and check out winnersandwhiners.com for all your great sports content each and every day on the sports that are going on and how to bet those. So for all of us over here at Winners and Whiners, we appreciate you guys stopping by, spending a little time with us. Like I said, we'll be back tomorrow to do a little NASCAR. Until then, you guys take care, stay healthy, have a little fun today, make a little money. And, we'll look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. All right? Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.